Good afternoon. This is Midday Live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. I am Wendy Lai. The headlines for this afternoon. As the world marks Press Freedom Day, today we take a look at the genesis of journalism in Ghana. Woman loses her unborn baby at Mamobi General Hospital due to absence of an ambulance. An Uber drivers demand commission cut from 25% to between 10 to 15%. We will be delving more into this. And on the firing front, at least 95 people have died and scores more injured in fierce dust storms that hit northern Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. I've got details of these stories and many more, including sports and entertainment, in the next 1 hour. Please do stay. Let's start with our stories now, and it's the fourth state of the realm playing a key role to serve public interest. But how much more do we know of it and what is currently seen in today's media? As Ghana hosts the World Press Freedom Day, Kwabna Edujemfi takes a look at the genesis of journalism in Ghana and the steps to becoming a journalist.
The duties of journalists are to educate, inform and entertain the public through the media. But sources of news have evolved as social media now constitutes an important source of information aside the traditional radio, television and print medium. The historical trajectory of journalism in the then Gold Coast can be traced to the establishment of the first media called the Royal Gold Coast Gazette in the 1822. In the heat of the struggle for independence, the Asante Pioneer was established as the mouthpiece of the United Gold Coast Convention Party in 1932. Journalism at the time mostly thrived within the print media circles. The journalism in the Gold Coast witnessed a turning point in 1935 when the colonial authorities introduced radio service through a wide relay station ZOY. Since then, journalism in Ghana has evolved, with television broadcasting becoming a key part in the traditional media.
In the early days of journalism, anywhere in the world, people did not go to formal school to become journalists. And for these people, journalism was a calling, it was a vocation, it was a passion, and it was a means to achieve certain goals, and they were political goals.
In Ghana, the first formal effort in training journalists was the establishment of the Ghana Institute of Journalism in October 1959 by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's government, Ghana's first post-independent leader. With a population of about 4,800 students, the university offers diploma, bachelor's and master's programs in the field of communication.
The landscape of journalism has changed. There are certain requirements that you need to go to school to acquire, although you can get those things on the job, but you can get them easily or through training school. So you talk about issues about ethics, for instance.
Manasseh Azuri is one of Ghana's foremost investigative journalists and a staunch anti-corruption crusader and a product of Ghana Institute of Journalism.
In terms of the freedom to practice journalism, I can say Ghana is one of the best places in the world to be a journalist. I have been in seminars in the US, Germany, and had opportunity of meeting journalists from all over the world. And when they speak about what they go through in their countries and what they are not able to publish or write, and when I look at what I'm able to publish or write, even about the president of the country, and still have my freedom, I can say Ghana is one of the best places on this planet to practice journalism.
In 2013, Manasseh Azuri Awene conducted a comprehensive investigation into the operations of JIDA and uncovered massive corruption in the institution, which led to a policy change in the running of the agency. For TV3 journalist Joseph Osuwarai, series of stories on forgotten performing artists was a wake-up call for the Ghana Actors Guild and the Musicians Union of Ghana to divert some attention to these old folks. But it's not been all rosy for journalists. Recent attacks on Joy FM's Latif Idris and Godfrey Tanam of TV3 raises concerns over the safety of journalists in their line of duty.
Jiolaka, I use Jiolaka, the late Jiolaka's story, as an example. When we heard that he was not in the best of health conditions, we went to the police and realized that the man was really struggling. And then the children were like, who gave me that permission to come and film their dad and put the content there, and that they didn't put them in a good light, okay? So they believe I sought to embarrass the whole family, okay? And we had to tell another story. So we went there and we found a way, and we got that story, and then they called again to warn me never to step in the house again, okay? And I felt that I was doing a very good job. I was trying to get help for the man, and eventually we got help for the man.
At the point, your prayer is that nothing untoward should happen. I remember there's this story that I was doing at Medina where we were exposing an abattoir that was releasing blood and odor in the community, and we were attacked with a knife. You understand? So just imagine a butcher holding his knife. You know the way the knife looks like, and you are thinking, nothing should happen, because when something happens, the person is holding it for a purpose. So when something happens, that means that the person can easily use it on you.
Elsewhere, journalists that have been killed in their line of duty, prompting concerns of risk associated with the work of journalists.
It's a very troubling trend, but we are under the illusion that now that we're in a democracy and we have strong protections for the media, that some of that will not happen. But it's still happening.
Although confronted with a myriad of difficulties, journalists are keen to positively impact society. As Ghana hosts the World on World Press Freedom Day, it is the hope of many Ghanaian journalists that cardinal challenges affecting the cause of media freedoms will be resolved for a vibrant media.
Ghana is sitting on a ticking time bomb, and this bomb must be detonated before it explodes in our faces. These were the words of senior journalist Dr. Sadiq Abubakar when he was speaking at Media General's press dialogue on fake news and social media in Accra. He was worried media houses paid less attention on the ethics, focusing more on getting the news published first.
There's a saying that one should not believe everything they see or read in the news. This has become truer now in recent years than ever. Speakers at the Media General Press Dialogue, directed at marking the World Press Freedom Day, agreed social media poses the greatest threat to the credibility of the journalism profession. Senior journalist Dr. Sadiq Abubakar expressed concern about the seeming lack of urgency in Ghana's attitude towards the surge of fake news. He said, although the issue of fake news in Ghana is at an infantile stage, the canker needed to be nipped in the bud.
It's going to be serious. People are now beginning to explore that minefield. Let's take the polarization of the country in terms of politics. So we are actually sitting on a time bomb.
Lecturer and BBC journalist Sami Darko maintains media houses need to invest fully in their employees if they indeed want to rub shoulders with those from other foreign media houses.
The more journalists get training, the more they are able to even identify the threats that are coming, because every day there are new challenges. That's why people go on refresher courses. It's not just enough being on Facebook or Twitter. There are tools that we use on Facebook and Twitter to be able to detect even stories happening in your area without physically going there.
Lack of research in the areas of fake news in Ghana was also identified as a major challenge. Speakers agreed that a conscious effort needed to be made to educate the general public on being cautious about the kind of information floating around, especially on social media. Lisbeth Chong Nameo from Radio Netherlands Worldwide added, the impact of fake news affected the overall brand of nations and recommended focus be placed on media literacy.
You could go online and you can find a checklist, and the checklist can help you to identify what is fake news. So some of the things that are on the checklist are saying things such as what is the headline? Is the headline corresponding with the content of the story? Where is the story coming from? Is it been published on a website, on a news website that is known, or has it been published on an unknown website?
In an era where media houses consistently aim to outdo each other by breaking news first, speakers urge them to rather focus on building a brand of consistent professionalism and reliability.
We still must go back to those journalism ethics and ensure that we have cross-checked before coming out. And when people have the confidence in us and we come out and say, what you heard is fake, this is real, people always believe it.
They really have to try to stand out with quality news, quality coverage. Ask yourself really the question, are you there to get the biggest audience as possible, or are you there to actually create social change in your society?
Fake news was linked to terrorism, checking all the boxes of how terrorism affected nations. Speakers maintained that although the media had the foremost role in the fight against fake news, all stakeholders must unite to combat this form of weaponized information.
So today we're celebrating the media, World Press Freedom Day, what needs to be done, the challenges and the way forward. My colleague Catherine Frimpoma is at the main events and she joins us live from the center to give us some updates on exactly what is happening at the event.
The silence, we have key high-profile panelists here discussing the issue, and one of them is our very own Anas Aremeyawanas, as you can see sitting up there as one of the panelists. And what they have been talking about is how best journalists can do investigative reporting and also stay safe, as well as being cost-effective. And Anas has been saying that we need to have a synergy between investigative journalists and security services or law enforcement agencies. He says that sometimes we should share information with appropriate stakeholders or institutions for effective follow-up and prosecution. And so Anas thinks that it is just not enough to stay in your corner and report on an issue. You need to also open up to other journalists across the world so that the impact that you need can be created. Earlier on at the plenary session, various panelists also spoke about the need for media houses to invest in investigative journalists. And here, the head of West Africa at the BBC World Service also called on the media to ensure that the employees involved in investigative journalists are well insured, so that their lives are not in danger even as they report. She also thinks that journalists can have a small effort for big result stories, and to her, she thinks that as a journalist, the impact you make, it is not really about how many government officials go to jail, but how communities, local environment is impacted. And so she thinks that while we look for high-profile investigative stories, we should also aspire to do very little basic things that bother on people's lives. And then one also international dignitary also spoke about the need for local journalists to partner with international community. So for instance, if you're a journalist in Ghana and you're undertaking an investigative story, you have to reach out to other institutions across the world to have your back, so that if something goes wrong, they will know that others are watching. So that is what has been happening today. And when you come here now, there are a lot of sessions going on, all geared towards enhancing the capacity of journalists across the world to be able to report better on issues. And so we are still here having the issues, and we will be updating viewers as and when things come up from the World Press Freedom Day being hosted here in Accra, the Kempinski Hotel. Catherine Frimpoma, TV3 News.
Thank you very much indeed, Catherine Frimpoma, for that update. She'll bring us some more updates as and when she gets them. You're still watching Midday Live. To one of our headline stories, focus on health. And a middle-aged woman lost her unborn baby during referral from the Mamobi General Hospital to the 37 military hospital due to the absence of an ambulance. Peter Kwao Adato reports the only ambulance at the Mamobi General Hospital, which is now a municipal hospital, broke down at a critical hour.
The unfortunate incident occurred on Friday, April 27. Medical officials say the middle-aged woman was due to deliver at the Mamobi Government Hospital, but due to complications, she was referred to 37 Military Hospital. Unfortunately, the only ambulance available malfunctioned at the crucial moment. Several attempts at starting the engine of the old ambulance were unsuccessful. Eventually, the officials called for a taxi to assist, but the baby died on arrival at the 37 Military Hospital. The incident stunned some assembly members of the new Ayawaso North Municipality, who demanded to know why a medical facility like the Mamobi General Hospital operates without a reliable ambulance. Health workers who would not speak on camera recounted the number of times they had to rely on commercial transport to move patients to other facilities. They appealed for a new ambulance to help save lives.
And preliminary reports from the ongoing research into nationwide immunizations in Ghana shows that urban areas in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Ho, and Tamale topped the chart in low coverage in 2017. The report, due to be published in June, identifies gated communities, secured and dog-protected homes, as well as demanding work schedules for the low coverage. Here's another report by Peter Kwao Adato.
Child immunization is a necessary preventive health care mechanism adopted to protect children under 5 years from contracting diseases. Ghana has moved from the common 5 killer diseases prevention approach to 13 diseases. However, as the country strives to achieve 95+% target, the dynamics of improving coverage is gradually shifting from the hard-to-reach rural area to urban areas. Preliminary results from ongoing research into nationwide immunization coverage by the Ghana Health Service, coalition of NGOs in health and other partner agencies reveals 15 out of every 20 low-performing districts are located in urban areas.
Urban immunization gaps.
Research has shown that urban immunization has the biggest challenge currently. There are several reasons why this is so. Health workers are unable to reach all children through the period from birth to 5 years. Of all churches, mosques, and other leaders must make it a point to constantly educate their followers to avail their wards for immunization.
What can be the possible barrier for people in Accra, Kumasi, Ho, Sekondi, Takoradi, and Tamale, among others, not to avail their wards for immunization?
In the urban areas, many of the residents are workers or traders, and so they leave home very early in the morning, and for market women, they come home very late. And so their homes are almost always locked. There are also affluent gated communities where it's difficult for staff even to enter. There are communities that are guarded by dogs, and so how dare you go there?
How can the challenge be addressed?
We have initiated the research activity that will enable us unearth the causes for this lower immunization coverage that has been experienced in these areas.
The Mamobi General Hospital Forum was organized by the Coalition of NGOs in Health as part of activities marking this year's World Immunization Week. It was on the theme, Protected Together, afford participating mothers and the public to be educated on the need to ensure full participation in the immunization programs.
You're still watching Midday Live. Do stay with us. Welcome, and let's do business now. Hundreds of Uber drivers in Accra have given a 2-week ultimatum to the multinational company to address their grievances or they will strike. The drivers who besieged the Ghana International Trade Fair site at La in Accra on Wednesday, May 2, are demanding a review of the 25% commission to the online transportation company Uber, as well as its discounts to riders. Here's a report by Peter Kwawadato.
Uber, an American multinational online transportation network, commenced operations in Ghana in June 2016. Ghana then became the 8th African country to have introduced Uber services. The operation was fast gaining ground, with hundreds of drivers and car owners signing on to the service. The base fare for the Uber service has been pegged between 1 cedi 30 pesos and 1 cedi 70 pesos per kilometer, or 19 pesos per minute. This is perhaps drawing commuters to the service, in addition to relatively high security assurance and convenience. But recent developments are not showing positive signs for the multinational company. Drivers have complained about the 25% commission they pay to Uber. Several complaints to Uber, according to the drivers, have fallen on deaf ears. Hence, the Wednesday gathering at Trade Fair site Allah in Accra.
One, the 25% fee that Uber charges on every fare that we get, we think is unfair, because Uber does nothing apart from providing an app for riders to reach us. We have our own cars, we fuel our cars, we buy a credit, we buy our phones, we buy everything that we use. So we think 25% is highly unfair, because other rider apps that are taking 15%, some are even taking 10%. They are enjoying economies of scale and still taking 25%, which is higher than all the other rider apps. We think it is highly unfair.
We are not workers of Uber. For Uber to impose any terms and conditions on us. Uber sees us as partners, and so we are calling for a review of his terms and conditions. Some of the clauses that is stated in there needs a review.
Others complained about the ongoing discount to riders and lack of security.
Many a times you receive a request, and the name on that request is a letter G, Y, A, M, Mr. H. You don't even know the person. For all you know, the person has registered with a different number, there's not even a picture. So if I'm going to pick up somebody and I know I'm picking a letter G person, and I go and you know, for last week they took 3 of our members their cars. They were robbed on gunpoint. So our security is much more important.
Some drivers also raised issues with their car owners, accusing them of adopting measures which is depriving them of income.
Most of our colleagues are complaining on the amount of money the car owners are charging the drivers. And the car owners don't pay any monthly salary, they don't pay insurance to the car drivers, they don't pay anything of commission to their drivers. What they are expecting from a driver is just 500, 600, 700 Ghana cedis a week.
The drivers, meanwhile, say they will use the platform to mobilize into a union or an association to ensure a united front.
So I have a colleague in studio who's been following this story closely. Himself, he is a user, and he's going to tell us a lot more about the happenings in relation to this very story. So I do have Cyril Dobe. He is a broadcast journalist with TV3. Hello, Cyril.
Hello, Wendy.
And now you have been using Uber for some time now, and when it came in as a means of employment and also an alternative source of income for some Ghanaians.
Yeah.
With what is happening, does this spell doom for the organization?
It will depend on how this develops, because it really did spell doom for Uber in some countries, and in some states, even in the US, they had to pull out. So what is going to happen is that depending on how the Uber as a business handled this in Ghana, it could mean bad business for them, because you know the issue of the rates and some of the other issues the drivers have raised us in the promos that were run by Uber or are run by Uber, it's at their cost. So for example, if you took a car from here to Adenta, usually it would cost you, let's say, 29 cedis in the evening or non-peak hours. And then it comes down to 16 cedis. Uber still charges the driver the 25% on the original price and not the promotion. But to the drivers, Uber had promised that this promotion is at Uber's cost. The issue of the 25%, which actually if you Google on what rates do Uber charge, is between 20 and 25%. It's always been the case, but what the drivers are saying is that in other countries like South Africa, Italy, and as well as Nigeria, that cost has come down. And so why can't you do the same for us? But Uber, and I'm not trying to do PR for Uber, would also say that, okay, in those countries, probably operating in more states, we have larger numbers, and so it means that there are, what do you call, the demand and supply scale, so there's a lot of demand, and so you could do this with a lot of people at a lower cost. And so some of the issues that are happening right now could mean doom and also safety for Uber, depending on the lessons they've learned. And this is not new to only Uber. With all the enterprises that are mainly tech-based companies, this is the issue. It's a system where we are learning as users as well as the people who are running these businesses, Tesla, Facebook, Instagram, Google. You see that they are losing either by virtue of breaches of traditional laws, breaches of the laws that are set by governments to trace this. So it may mean doom or progress for Uber on various fronts.
Now, with what's happening, we're yet to hear from Uber. I know TV3 is working on getting them and then getting their response. But from where you sit and you have been following this, what might be their response? Obviously, they're in business and they don't want to make a loss. These drivers have also aired their concerns. Would they be listened to at all? Okay, so if Uber were going to explain to them, which their CEO and even in a video encounter with one of their drivers in the New York in the US explains, is that, you know, the drivers are not, they are not trying to look at it from the point of Uber as a business. Uber probably would have paid Google to use Google Map. They put the service online, why you can pick up your phone and request. That Uber has to be alive. That internet cost is at Uber's cost. They also have to run a business, pay all these people. So they will tell you that the 25% is the cost for providing that service, because they are a car hailing service. And so that is where the percentage, yes, of course, there could be issues of, could it be brought down to 15 for Ghanaians, but what is the cost for Uber running this business? All right. Is that 25% even enough? And so that's the other, or probably the response. Thank you very much, Cyril, for the updates. I'm sure you bring us more as and when you get them. You're still watching Midday Live. To other stories now, and the Bank of Ghana is advising players in the banking sector to suspend the payment of profits to their shareholders. This, according to officials of the central bank, will enable banks to position themselves appropriately to meet the deadline of the minimum capital requirement.
This suggestion comes on the heels of efforts of many banks to meet the increased minimum capital requirement from 120 million Ghana cedis to 400 million cedis by the December deadline. Some banks have indicated their intention to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange, while some have suggested that banks suspend the payment of profits to their shareholders. But some players in the sector have already called for an extension of the deadline, as many struggle to meet it. Sharing his thoughts on this and other proposals on how local banks can raise the minimum capital requirement, Chief Executive Officer of Universal Merchant Bank, John Ewa, said any decision to be taken will have to be in consultation with shareholders of the banks.
Banking as an industry thrives very much on
confidence in the environment, and it's important that at all times the regulator, as the one who is in charge of the financial services sector, is always, reassuring the public and the generality of Ghanaians that the financial institutions, that things are not just being thrown out to banks, but that there is that dialogue with banks. We have our options very much open. All I can say at this time is that before the regulatory timeline will meet the capital requirement.
The central bank plans to operationalize by early next year the Bank of Ghana Deposit Protection Scheme established under the Ghana Deposit Protection Act 2016, Act 931 as amended, to provide further protection for depositors' funds.
And that's all for business this afternoon. Let's move on to other stories. And two major unions have asked the Social Security and National Insurance Trust NIT to pay the past credits and interest on benefits on pension contributors. The Civil and Local Government Staff Association and the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union have expressed fear any delay could trigger unrest.
In 2004, government initiated steps to have a new Pensions Act. The process was completed in 2008 for implementation to begin in 2010. The new Act 766 established a three-tier scheme for pensioners. Under the first tier, senators control the benefits and will be paying monthly stipend, while Tier 2 will have the chunk of pensioners' contributors, and Tier 3 is a voluntary contribution. Under the new Pensions Act 766, from year 2020, Senate will no longer be paying lump sum to pensioners. However, two major unions have expressed concern that pensioners could be shortchanged before year 2020. The Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAG, has criticized Senate for failing to calculate the past credits and interest rate for pensioners, which could affect them when they retire.
As we speak now, interest on these past credits are outstanding, and all these were to have been transferred to the private schemes. But as at now, State has not done it. We also have 1% that is hanging, which should also be transferred to the contributors.
Already, some fund managers have begun demanding administrative fees from contributors under the second tier. CLOGSAG at its news conference last week insisted that National Pensions Regulatory Authority NPRA steps in immediately.
Tier 2 funds, but up to now, no guideline. There are guidelines, but I would think it's not adequate. Provision should be made that before you charge any fee to contributors, NPRA must approve whatever fees you want to charge.
However, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union ICU has argued that fund managers under second tier could increase overhead costs than Senate.
Before, Senate is already managing all that one on your behalf. Now another person who says, give me this percentage for me to manage for you. This is the overheads he's going to incur. And then their kind of investment that will bring the returns, okay, that could be compared to Senate returns, is also something that we must put in proper jacket and analyze.
The General Secretary, Solomon Kotei, again said that NPRA should amend portions of Act 766 and impose penalties on private employers who are not paying the second tier for employees.
Various fund managers that they have hooked onto, because reports reaching us is that they are really not even giving back statements to the workers. They are not crediting the accounts. All they do is that they acknowledge receipts of the payments from the employer. But as whether your accounts have been credited or not, nobody knows.
Both unions suggested that government could review the Pensions Act 766 after 10 years.
To some more stories, then more than 50 students of the Accra Technical University have for the first time in over a decade taken their practical science laboratory examinations. This, according to management of the institution, is to offer hands-on job training for the students to meet industrial demands.
Students at Accra Technical University for more than a decade have not been undertaking practical science lab examinations. Most of these students only undertake the theoretical science lab exams, which consistently have affected their output. Again, students who visit industries for their practical attachment sometimes do not meet the requisite criteria. This has always compelled captains of industry to complain about the gap between academia and industries. Currently, available figures from the Statistical Service indicate that 250,000 tertiary institutions join the labor force every year. However, just less than 10% of them receive jobs in the public sector, while the rest receive jobs in the private sector without practical experience. To address these challenges, the Accra Technical University for the first time has allowed its engineering students to undertake practical science lab exams. This training is expected to offer and equip the students with requisite skills to work effectively in every laboratory. A senior lecturer at the Department of Science and Laboratory, Livingston Kojogati, said the training is to equip students for the job market.
In industry, they also organize orientations for the people, and then they also go for internship. But one of the things we are doing seriously, and particularly with our BTech program, where internship is scored and it is an integral part, they go for a whole semester of industrial training, so that we bridge that gap between what we teach in the lab or in the school vis-a-vis what is happening in industry.
He emphasized on the need to review their curriculum to clearly meet what industry demands.
And next on MTN Video Reports, Godwin Ni Amuadi reports on the field that has been uncollected at La Wireless.
From Panwan Junction, Apapa, La Wireless, this is where everybody comes to dump the refuse. And for some time now, they've not been coming for it. The big trucks would rather come and dump the refuse here. We want the government to come to our aid because we can't do anything in the area. The whole area is smelling bad. And this is just behind the AU village. My name is Godwin Ni Amu.
Remember, you can also send your video via our WhatsApp platform 05514-33044, 05514-33044. You're still watching Midday Live. We have more. Now, some international news, and at least 95 people have died and scores more injured in fierce dust storms that hit the North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. Now, the storms on Wednesday disrupted electricity, uprooted trees, destroyed houses, and killed livestock. Next, let's do some entertainment news. An entertainment story this afternoon: the late veteran actor and comedian Super Odi will be laid to rest at Aguna Abodom in the central region on May 19. The experienced actor died on February 13 after a short illness. Super Odi rose to prominence in the 80s and 90s for his comic roles in popular local series Akandrawa. The actor left behind 14 children. He was 84. We'll bring you some more updates on that story as well. But away from that, less than a week after its release, Shatta Wale's latest song, Gringo, is the talk of town. Usu Rai reports, while some critics have said Gringo is nothing to write home about, the 1-minute 40-second song is making the day for many others.
I love that. Shout out to man Gringo. Yes, Gringo, Ringo. Wow, hey, Mandingo. Oh yeah, make me tell him. Me never see no bad man where we a carver. Yes, you got that DV, I make him harbor.
The anticipation was high ahead of the release of the music video for Gringo.
If I know I got talk about dance, I know. If me want to really date a girl, me I got date Cardi B. Wow. girl so sleek. Girl body art like water where you bubble in a bath.
Days after its release, Gringo has received mixed reactions.
I've heard it like over, let's say, twice, but it begins to, win the heart as you listen to it over and over again. And my boy is a Shatter fan, so actually we're loving it.
And it's very, very good, nice and positive, because man, them a bad boy,
While the SM loyalists hail their icon Shatawale for yet another great masterpiece, his critics have refused to see anything good about Gringo. Shatter's follower Mohammed Bunyamin wrote, "Nice video but poor lyrics. This is called Tujimi Rise." Brahma Osmanu posted, "Now is this a song? Are you promoting smoking or what? You are misleading the youth." Others condemned the video, saying it is as confusing as its composer. But hey, many others have fallen in love with the music video.
I like Gringo. It's not all the time you have to have a message to. There are some songs that we can actually jam to, and if Shatta is giving us that, then we should embrace it. To me, it's perfect.
The song is everywhere. Everyone is talking about it. So I think he did very well because, I heard people praising him for that. They should just leave him to have his own life.
Everybody know we run this town, yeah man. Kuli we a smoke in a every corner. Ask about Shatta movement in a Ghana. Girl, I'm a wine when
the Gringo, I learned the meaning. It's a nickname for those foreign people.
So you read about it?
Yes.
If me want to really date a girl, me I go date Cardi B. Wow.
The lyrics are already on the lips of many, barely a week after Gringo was dropped.
Shout outs to my Gringo. Yes, Gringo, Ringo, Mandingo. They say banana.
Shout out to my Gringo. Oh, lingo.
I can hear one words, push it up and all that. So Shatta will be too much. That will thing I will say Shatta is too much.
Shout out to man Gringo. Yes, Gringo, Ringo. Wow, hey, Mandingo. Oh yeah, make me tell him. Me never say no.
All right, so on that Gringo notes, we end the bulletin, but a quick run through our headlines for this afternoon. The world marks Press Freedom Day today, and we look at the genesis of journalism in Ghana. Woman loses her unborn baby at Mamobi General Hospital due to absence of an ambulance. Uber drivers demand commission cut from 25% to between 10 to 15%. At least 95 people have died and scores more injured in fierce dust storms that hit northern Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. A happy Press Freedom Day to all media persons and journalists as well. And that'll be all for this afternoon. My name is Wendy Lai. Thanks for watching.